Calm is often mistaken for weakness. In moments of conflict, the loudest voice appears dominant, the angriest reaction appears powerful, and the one who strikes first seems decisive. Yet throughout history, the men who survived chaos and shaped their fate were not those who erupted, but those who remained still. The warrior who mastered himself before confronting the world was feared not for his noise, but for his silence. In the discipline of the samurai, calm was never passive. It was a weapon refined through suffering, awareness, and restraint. In the teachings of Bushido and Zen, emotional control was not comfort, but survival. Miyamoto Musashi, undefeated swordsman and author of the Dokudo, wrote that one must not be disturbed by events of the world. His battles were not won by rage or impulse, but by clarity of mind. To lose control was to lose the fight before it began. This ancient discipline still stands, unyielding against time, waiting for those willing to bear its weight. Chapter 1. The Unseen Battle. In a crowded city, far from any battlefield, a man named Ren walked each day carrying quiet tension beneath his composure. His life was ordinary in appearance, yet inside he felt constantly provoked. A harsh word from a colleague unsettled him. A delayed message stirred irritation. Disrespect lingered long after it had passed. His reactions were quick, his thoughts restless, and his peace fragile. Each moment of agitation seemed small, yet together they shaped a life ruled by unseen forces. Ren believed his reactions were justified, even necessary. He told himself that emotion proved sincerity and strength, that silence was surrender. But beneath these beliefs lay exhaustion. His mind never rested, his body remained braced for conflict, and his presence felt scattered. Without realizing it, he was fighting every day and winning nothing. The true opponent was not his environment, but his lack of command over himself. Chapter 2. The Warrior's Mirror. One evening, Ren encountered a quiet hall where an elderly man practiced calligraphy in silence. The strokes were slow, deliberate, unhurried by the world outside. When Ren asked about the practice, the man spoke of Zen and the discipline of the sword. He explained that a warrior's first victory is internal and that agitation reveals vulnerability. Calm, he said, is not gentleness but readiness without disturbance. It is the still surface concealing deep water. The man told Ren of Mushin, the state of no mind, where thought and emotion do not obstruct action. In battle, hesitation born from fear or anger leads to defeat. The samurai trained not to suppress emotion, but to pass through it without attachment. Presence replaced reaction. Awareness replaced impulse. The warrior learned to stand unmoved amid turbulence, not because he felt nothing, but because he felt everything without surrendering to it. Chapter 3. Musashi's Path. Miyamoto. Musashi wandered Japan during an age of violence, meeting opponents not with fury but with precision. He observed before acting, absorbed before striking. His discipline extended beyond combat, rejecting indulgence and dependency. In the Dokudo, he wrote of detachment from pleasure and distress alike. To cling to emotion was to chain oneself. To release it was to move freely. Musashi understood that anger narrows perception, pride blinds judgment, fear stiffens the body, calm expands awareness and sharpens timing. When challenged, he did not rush. When insulted, he did not flinch. His stillness unsettled opponents who sought reaction. In that silence, he decided the outcome before the blade moved. Chapter 4. The practice of Gaman Ren began to observe his responses rather than obey them. When provoked, he paused. When offended, he breathed. The concept of Gaman guided him, enduring hardship with dignity and restraint. It was not repression, but endurance with purpose. Each moment became training, each irritation an opportunity to strengthen inner posture. He removed small habits that fueled reaction. He stopped rehearsing arguments in his mind. He limited exposure to voices that inflamed him. He rose earlier, sat quietly, and focused on breath. The practice felt uncomfortable at first, like standing against a current. Yet slowly the current weakened. Calm began to appear, not as absence of feeling, but as space around feeling. Chapter 5. Ichigyo Zamai. In swordsmanship, Ichigyo Zamai teaches full immersion in a single act. No divided attention, no scattered emotion. Ren applied this to conversation, to work, to conflict. When speaking, he listened fully. When challenged, he addressed the moment without dragging past wounds into the present. Focus replaced rumination, precision replaced defensiveness. He noticed something subtle. Those who once sought to provoke him grew uncertain. His quiet response denied them the reward of reaction. Authority emerged without force. Respect followed without demand. Calm revealed strength not through dominance, but through gravity. Chapter 6. Surrender and Identity. True discipline required surrender, not to weakness, but to reality. Ren accepted that his emotions were transient visitors, not commanders. He no longer identified with every surge of feeling. Identity shifted from reactive self to observing self. In Zen, the self is not the storm, but the sky. He established non-negotiable practices: silence before speech, breath before decision, observation before judgment. Each day became a forging of character, heat, and pressure, shaping steadiness. The warrior within was not loud, not hurried, not defensive. It was patient, deliberate, and rooted. Chapter 7. The Quiet Transformation. Months passed, and the changes became visible only to those who looked closely. Ren's posture softened, yet steadied. His words carried weight without volume. Conflict no longer controlled his evenings. Sleep came untroubled. The world had not changed, but his position within it had shifted. He stood at the center rather than the edge. In moments that once triggered reaction, he now perceived choice. The gap between stimulus and response widened, and within that gap lived freedom. This was the samurai's inheritance, transmitted across centuries without ceremony. Calm was not a retreat, but a vantage point. Chapter 8. The Warrior's Calm. The ancient warrior did not seek tranquility as comfort. He sought clarity as preparation. Calm under pressure was proof of training. It signaled readiness, discernment, and command. To remain unmoved while others trembled was not indifference, but mastery. In modern life, battles are quieter yet constant. Words replace blades, status replaces survival, yet the principles remain intact. Emotional control determines trajectory, presence determines influence, silence determines depth. Those who govern themselves move through chaos untouched, shaping outcomes without display. Calm is not weakness, it is the still hand that draws the sword at the precise moment. It is the steady gaze that ends conflict before it begins. It is the discipline to endure, the wisdom to wait, and the courage to act without noise. In the quiet tradition of the warrior, power was never announced. It was recognized. To walk this path is to accept solitude, repetition, and restraint. The reward is not applause, but sovereignty of mind. Amid the turbulence of the world, the warrior stands, breath unbroken, spirit unbent. And in that stillness, everything necessary is already decided.